Hello, this is Paul DeNiccolo, and this is my presentation that relates to the on-demand economy. I plan to first give some insight into the size and scope of the on-demand economy. Secondly, discuss the difference between the sharing economy and the on-demand economy, comparing Zipcar and Uber. Then I'd like to discuss the business model of Grubhub, giving some insight into their structure. Then lastly, discuss the makeup of the on-demand labor force and some of the current issues that it faces. The on-demand economy was born out of technology and connectivity. It leverages software solutions to connect consumers to a product or service in real time. With the growth of cell phone usage and the computing power attached, the gig economy runs in the virtual world. There's nearly an app for every service you can imagine. Over 22 million people utilized the on-demand economy in 2017 and spent north of $57 billion. The backbone of the on-demand economy is integrated software. The on-demand consumer can browse a plethora of local menus, look through listings of vacation homes around the globe, or identify the best handyman for a specific home care need. Then the app can book the service, notify both parties of the transactions, and facilitate payment. It then can rate the experience and provide direct feedback to the next consumer. The on-demand economy leverages the growing appetite for convenience, speed, and simplicity. Ground transportation, grocery services, and restaurant industries are the three areas where this need is growing rapidly. The on-demand economy is primarily targeted to business to consumer, but there are also some companies focused on B2C or B2B. In this slide from CB Insights, you can see that the trends in the on-demand economy are changing. On-demand startups reached a level of saturation in 2015. On-demand dollars peaked in 2015 at $21 billion, encompassing 375 deals. In 2016, the deal count was down to 282, and the dollars dropped to $13 billion. Most of the dollars have been directed towards rideshare behemoths and international investors intending to extend the technology platforms to their own country. Uber raised $5.1 billion in 2015, and Airbnb raised $1.6 billion. As you can see in the second slide, seed investments are slowing as the rush of new deals hit the VC market in 2013 and 14. But the follow-through, last stage investments, have increased in 2016, indicating that deals were viable enough to reach their completion. This is not atypical, does not indicate that there is a decline in the growth of the on-demand economy. In this quick mosaic, you can see all the listings for some of the types of companies that operate in the virtual world. As you might imagine, there should be some level of consolidation in the years ahead. In this slide, we will discuss the on-demand and sharing models, comparing Uber, a sharing model, and Zipcar, an on-demand model. Both models provide economic benefits. For Uber, the focus is on the underutilization of cars. On average, a car costs $8,558 in the US, or $23 a day, and they're only driven 5% or 72 minutes of each day. For Uber drivers, that can equate to a $6.8 billion economic benefit for the consumer. The most distinct difference between the two models may be the asset. For Uber, a sharing model, the asset is owned by the employee and not the company. So the responsibility of maintaining and operating the vehicle is on the driver. For Zipcar and most on-demand models, the operation and asset management is conducted by the company. Zipcar will have to invest in a fleet, manage operations, and maintenance. So while both models have intangible assets like brand, algorithms, customer base, data analysis, the on-demand in this scenario can add to the expense. Interestingly enough, Uber has purchased a fleet of driverless cars. Despite the recent headlines, their goal may be to reduce the driver out of the equation. The service and distribution models are also quite different. While Uber can be anywhere at all times, Zipcar will have to locate and pay for parking spots in areas that will maximize their use. Both Zip and Uber keep transaction costs down, the cost per ride, but both have essentially eliminated the middleman, the taxi company and dispatcher, from the equation. They also have similar trust elements, but Zipcar can eliminate some of the trust issues that can come from poor Uber drivers. Both models need to manage safety and insurance similarly. For sharing models, there is an additional responsibility to manage the human interactions. Uber will need to manage the risk of bad human interactions, something they have dealt with since the site launched, To keep quality and customer experience high, sharing models will utilize customer feedback. If the product, car, ride, or room is not to the consumer's liking, they can comment. If comments are bad, quality is bad, and consumers will avoid. For on-demand Zipcar, that can eliminate the driver variable. The quality will be determined by the car. It's the type or condition. So in summary, these variables can affect funding and growth potential for both models. On-demand companies own their assets, pay bondholders and investors, and can temper their pace of growth. Sharing models are much lighter on the capital investments and can use investor funds to advertise and market their brand. This slide shows Grubhub's business model. Grubhub is one of the most successful on-demand companies that thrive in the ever-growing restaurant and delivery service market. Grubhub's business model has been a disruptor in the restaurant industry. The reason for Grubhub's success is because they are providing streamlined technology solutions for restaurants and consumers who utilize their app. Grubhub has a unique value proposition for multiple players, and their mission is threefold. First, to elevate takeout. Second, connect a massive, untapped, and otherwise fragmented dining market. And three, provide valuable benefits to restaurants and diners. The value for diners, simple. More choice, no markups on the menus, low delivery fees, fee transparency, and 24/7 service. The value for restaurants is more orders, broader reach, more potential customers, high return on investment, and efficiency, more online orders versus phone orders that can waste valuable time. Grubhub currently has 6.7 million diners with 40,000 connected restaurants in over 1,000 cities, processing approximately 250,000 orders per day. Grubhub's business model can work for smaller restaurants that need more recognition and for larger franchises that want to add home delivery. Grubhub technology platform must first take and process online orders, second, manage delivery logistics, and third, complete the monetary transactions. And their app must work on all the differing operating platforms seamlessly. Like most on-demand technology platforms, they are uniquely scalable. By adding more diners and clients, those are restaurants, they drive down the overall cost of the platform. They still have some salaries to pay for existing employees, but most other costs are pushed to the consumer. They generate revenue when their restaurants generate orders, so they're always on the same side of their client. Grubhub profits will rise only if these orders increase. They build order systems for their restaurants so they can easily process online orders without disrupting their in-restaurant customers. This is probably the most tricky proposition, seeing that restaurants like the extra order when they are not busy, but when they are, it can be disruptive to their seated customer. Grubhub generates a commission for each order, and that commission can range between 5 and 15%, but averages about 13.5%. So what does the workforce look like in the on-demand economy? The workforce in the on-demand economy is quite unique. It attracts a diversified group, all with differing motivations. In a report from Intuit, they divide the on-demand workforce into 5 distinct groups. First is the business builders. This group represents the largest portion and probably the most satisfied participant in the on-demand economy. Most are motivated by the opportunity to own their own business and to be their own boss, and they use this opportunity to supplement their current income. The career freelancers represent the second largest group. Their motivations are grounded in being able to control when they work. They generate a larger portion of their income from the on-demand economy and feel working independently of a company is actually less risky. The side giggers, this segment is looking to supplement their current income and seek financial security. They most likely have a current job or are unsatisfied with their total income. The passionates are less motivated by money than the other groups and are more excited about the idea to do something they love. This is usually the most educated group, with 67% having a college or undergraduate degree. This is also the group that participates the least when adding up the total hours worked. The substituters, this group would rather have a permanent job receiving a W-2. Most of this segment face some type of near-term hardship like a layoff and are needing to make money until they can find more permanent means of employment. From an article published by The Atlantic, here are some of the additional statistics on the 5 groups above. The on-demand economy is 72% male, 57% white or Caucasian, 38% between the ages of 18 and 24, 65% single, and 43% with some type of college education. Lastly, I'd like to discuss some of the labor implications of this on-demand workforce. The on-demand economy encompasses 34% of the U.S. workforce, approximately 55 million Americans. Since most of the workforce are considered independent contractors and receive a 1099, they do not receive some of the benefits of a traditional W-2 worker. As this workforce grows, it can create some significant imbalances that may need attention. In 2015, the Secretary of Labor, Chris Lu, spoke about the on-demand economy and remarked, "These changes have the potential to fundamentally alter the rights, protections, and expectations of work, ultimately threatening the dignity of work." Because the bulk of on-demand companies do not have to pay health benefits, provide unemployment or workman's comp, retirement benefits, sick, overtime, or disability leave, the workers in the gig economy could be considered at a significant disadvantage. This, though, is part of the model. Removing these costs is part of the reason venture capitalists have invested so heavily. But as this workforce grows, the battle for fairness is underway. Drivers for the popular Lyft and Uber are speaking out, organizing, and even going on strike, seeking some type of labor protection. As a result, there is debate to create a new legal worker classification called the independent worker. This category would seek to embrace the needs of the digital workforce and offer some type of right and benefits beyond the current structure. Well, that concludes my discussion. Hopefully you received some insight into the on-demand economy, understand better the difference between a sharing model and on-demand model, see how an on-demand model works like Grubhub, and lastly, understand better the workforce and its changing dynamic. Thanks for listening.